We're good to go.
Is it recording?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Amy Collins, and this is the 7th edition of the Dogo Argentino Webinar Series. Today we have Aggie Wasson of Old Glory Kennels. Hi, Aggie.
Hi, thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. We'll start off with a couple questions. If you could just tell us how long have you been in the breed, and just maybe tell us about your first dogo. What got you interested in the breed?
Well, we have been showing dogs 12 years, and in the midst of showing those dogs, my handler had Dogo Argentinos, and she had a litter of puppies, and there was a deaf puppy in the litter that had attacked another puppy and caused some injury to her chest. So in the midst of raising them, she was worried about where that puppy might go, and we ended up bonding. So she gifted that puppy to me, and that's what got us started. So we fell in love with them. We had her for about 11 months, and we ended up losing her to a degenerative disease, which was really sad and unfortunate. But then I felt like at that time that we couldn't live without a dogo, and it was going to be a part of our lives forever. So we decided that we were going to get another dogo, and we wanted to show dogos. So we imported our first 2 dogos from a kennel in Russia.
What is your idea of a true Dogo Argentino and the primary function of your dogos?
Well, when we started learning about the breed, it's supposed to be an all-around functional dog, and that was part of what was so intriguing about them, being able to function as a hunting dog, but be able to come home and be a family protector. So we got our show dogos, and after having them, realizing how much different they were than any other breed and how much more they needed, we started to explore what it is that they do as a function, which was hunting. And so we ended up becoming addicted to both. So the all-around dogo for me is one that can basically walk into the field and catch hogs and come out of the ring, be washed off, and put a show lead on and walk into the ring and show himself.
Excellent. In your experience, how far do you think the dogo has come since you first started?
Well, I think because of the commitment of the people that love the breed and the starting to cross the lines between the hunting people and the show people, that it's come a long way. I mean, you guys, you're a big part of that. You started off hunting, and then you became president of the club, and then started working with everybody, trying to get both sides to talk to each other, work together. And now we're AKC recognized, and we're able to share our experiences in the field and in the ring. So I think that we've grown incredibly and are continuing to grow.
Tremendously. It's still a work in progress, but we are getting there. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Through these webinars even. I mean, I think it's just going to bring all of us together and communicate so that we can breed better dogs.
Yeah, I cannot thank Ashley and Cherie enough for organizing this. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. I mean, this is just tremendous.
So I don't know, you have a PowerPoint for us. I don't know when you want to kind of insert that and get that started, but we do have some show questions for you as well.
Okay, well, we'll go through this information first, and then also at the end, I have a live example. So if anybody wants to see stacking or some of the things that I do, and I brought examples of show leads, I'll show you guys all of that after the PowerPoint.
I think that would be great.
Awesome. Showing Dogs AKC.
All right.
So just a brief history of dog shows. Dog shows began in the late 1800s in Europe. Shows started with sporting dogs like setters. Dog shows back in the day weren't like what we see today. They got all their working dogs together. The purpose was to have breed-worthy dogs in one place so that they could all compare to one another. So function at that time was the main focus, but they weren't following a written standard yet. So the first AKC show was held in 1874 by 12 dedicated sportsmen. And by 1884, we had bylaws and dog show rules and standards to follow. A point system was established, and by 1984, we had celebrated 100 years. And by that 100 years, we had changed because we had written standards, and the whole idea is that the dogs that are bred to be as close to that written standard as possible will function the best in the field. So now you can compete in numerous activities within AKC, not just conformation, where each dog is judged against a written standard for its breed, but you can do agility, you can do rally, there's dock diving, they do barn hunts now. I've seen dogs do herding with sheep. So you can find out all that information at AKC. If there's people out there that don't want to just do conformation and want to work their dogs in a different way, they can click on that link and find out more about it. Points to becoming a champion. I think that this was one of the hardest things for me to understand when I started showing dogs. So I broke it down exactly in the same way that AKC breaks it down. So in order to obtain a championship title, you have to have a total of 15 points. So of those 15 points, you have to have 2 majors. A major has to be 3 points or more for each win under 2 separate judges. So what that means is that when you're showing your dog, if you get a major under, say, Amy Collins, and then you go to another dog show and you get another major under Amy Collins, that won't count as your 2 majors. It has to be under 2 separate judges. The rest of the points can be single points or majors to accumulate the 15 points. So how do we get a major? In order to obtain a major, it's determined by the number of dogs competing. Right now in our division in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, which is Division 7, a 3-point major in Dogos, the dogs or the bitches, is currently 4. So that means you have to have either 4 bitches or 4 dogs in order to have a 3-point major. In order to have a 4-point major, it would be 5 dogs, and a 5-point major would be 6 dogs or bitches. You could have a major in bitches and just single points in dogs, or vice versa, depending on how it goes. Now, as we continue showing our dogs and more entries go, every year they're going to change what it takes for a 3-point major. For example, if we end up showing a lot of majors this year and we have 3-point and 4-point, 5-point majors, next year they're going to up the amount of dogs it takes in order to achieve these majors. For instance, Doberman pinchers, where we might only have 10 Dogos showing in a show, you might have 50 Doberman pinchers. So in order to obtain a championship in a Doberman pinscher, it might take 7 to get a 3-point major. So we check that every year in May. No, is it May or October? I think I have it in here later on. So if there's only one major in either sex, there's an opportunity for the opposite sex to take the same points as the sex with the major. So what this means is, once the points are given to either the bitch or the dog, if the bitch has more points than the dog, when they compete against each other for best of opposite sex, if the one with the lesser point crosses over and beats the one with the more points, that dog will take the same amount of points that the bitch had in the major. Does that make sense?
It does, and thank you for
That's how
breaking
you
that
end up
down.
taking. That's how you take best of opposite sex. So the dog with the major must beat the dog with the major in order to obtain the major points. So you can cross over. But the only 2 dogs that are getting points is winner's bitch and winner's dog. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So every year it is in May. The point schedule changes based on how many dogs of each breed show the previous year, like I explained. And you go to akc.org and go to the confirmation point schedule. And the states are broken down into division. Like I said, we're Division 7 in Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. Like if we have majority of the dogs that are showing in AKC, the Dogos this year, then our point system are going to go up. But if there's very little Dogos showing, like say in Division 2, their point system isn't going to be as high as ours. So if somebody was looking for majors with lesser dogs, they could travel to another division and enter over there for lesser points to get their majors. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, and then after you obtain your regular championship title, then you can obtain your grand champion and great grand champion titles after obtaining your championship. And that happens when you go to the dog show and you start seeing dogs get select dog. They're getting their select dog points towards their grand championship.
Okay.
Okay, so now we want to enter a dog show. So there's two different ways that you can enter a dog show, either online or by mail. So if you're going to enter online, they have online entry services that people can use where you just give them their dog's information and they go ahead and you call them and enter whatever show you tell them. Like Best in Show entry service is one of them. There's a ton more. You can just Google it and find entry service. The nice thing about this is that you don't have to worry about it. Once they have your dog's number, they usually keep it. And all you have to do is call them up and say, like, I want to enter this show, these days, this class, and they'll do everything for you. But of course, there's a service fee. Or you can enter online yourself. You'll go to one of the online entry systems and follow the directions and the prompts on there. Each one is different. Or you can do by mail-in entry, just download one of the forms for the dog shows and print it off and fill it out and mail it in. The only thing about that is that you have to wait for them to get it, cash your check, do all of those things, and then you don't know if you made the entry or not, especially right now because the entries are so limited. So you can obtain the forms online at these three services. There are probably more services than this that you use, but these are the only three that I'm aware of that I've ever used, which is Jack Onofrio, InfoDog, and Jack Bradshaw. So different shows, the different breed clubs are the ones who hire the different vendors to put on the shows. So you'll go to their websites and that's how you'll enter. And then they all have their own rules for each show as far as like if you can change classes and whatever, each one's different. So you have to look it up when you enter your show.
And especially right now with everything with COVID-19, like you said,
Yes.
it's limited and there's so many different rules now. We're wearing masks and things like that.
Yes.
So it
A
is
lot
a
of
different,
things didn't. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it's a different age right now in showing dogs for sure.
Yes, ma'am. They are trying really hard to keep it as normal as possible. We actually entered a shows before doing this webinar for y'all so that I could see how different it was. So the camaraderie is still the same and everything. It's just signing the health form, making sure that you stay behind the lines, the chalk lines, staying social distance, and having the masks on and how you obtain your number. But the system's still the same. The going over the dogs is still the same. The rings are still ran the same. It's just, you know, keeping that social distance respect with one another. So when you get online, another thing to know about Onofrio is that whenever you get on there and do it, it's timed. So have all of your information ready when you're ready to enter your dog, like your dog's number, your registration number, who the owners are, what the dog show it is that you want to enter, and what class. So have all of that gathered before you log in, because when you put your credit card information in, they want you to promptly answer each section and keep going. And if you don't, then you have to reboot it, start all over, and re-enter all of that information. So it's just better to have it all together. So now we go to what classes to enter. In every breed of dogs, males are always judged first, and then bitches are judged first. For each sex, there are 7 classes. Puppy class, 6 to 12 months. So it'll go puppy dogs, enter first, 6 to 12 month class. You'll do all the dog classes first before the bitches. Then the 12 to 18 month dogs, if anybody entered that class, they'll go in. Then you have novice dogs. Novice class is for dogs that have never won first prize. Then you have amateur owner handler for people that are not familiar with handling dogs. For the non-professional, you have bred by exhibitor. This is for all dogs except for champions. If it's already a champion, you cannot enter it in a bred by exhibitor class. You enter it as a special, as a already champion dog. They have to be 6 months of age or older, and they have to be presently owned and exhibited by the same person who are recognized as the breeder on the AKC papers. So you have to be the owner of the dog, the breeder of the dog, and it has to be 6 months of age or older and cannot be a champion to be in the bred by exhibitor class. And then, and of course, if you enter the bred by exhibitor class, you want to enter a dog that represents you as a breeder in that class. Don't just enter any dog, something that's, you know, your best dog. American bred dogs are for dogs born in the United States, and the open class are for all dogs, American and foreign. If you import a dog, you can't enter the dog in obviously the American bred class because it's not an American bred dog. And the reason they have all these different classes is so that you can enter multiple dogs. When you're usually serious about your dog, say you enter 5 dogs, usually your most serious dogs are entered in the bred by exhibitor, American bred, or open classes. So now how dogs are judged. In the winner's class, this is who's obtaining the championship points. There's a winner's dog and a winner's bitch. So if you have a major in dogs and in bitches, whatever points, because their point system's different, you're going to obtain any points based on however many dogs were entered. After those dogs compete for winner's dog and winner's bitch, the winner's dog and winner's bitch comes back in to compete against each other in the best of breed competition, along with all the other dogs they call specials, which have already obtained their championship. So the champion dogs are coming back in to compete for best of breed, and then winner's dog comes in and winner's bitch comes in behind them. The dog that wins the best of breed competition, this is the dog that's going to move on to the working group as our sole representative of the breed. So the judge is judging dogs. He picks the winner's dog. He picks winner's bitch. Then the specials come in and he picks a dog from that lineup to be the sole representative of the breed to represent us in our group, which is the working group. Championship points, winner's dog and winner's bitch are the ones that receive the points. Points are determined by the number of dogs entered, which I explained earlier, whether or not it's single points or majors. The end of the show, the dog competes. If it wins, it's group. So now we've won our best of breed competition. Later in the afternoon, we're going to go to the groups. There's going to be one of 7 groups: sporting group, hound group, working group, terrier, non-sporting, herding, and toy. We're going to be competing in the working group. So that's other dogs like the Doberman, the Mastiff, the Boxer, and the Dogo. So if the Dogo wins first prize in group, then at the end of the show, it's going to go and compete in best in show. Those 7 dogs that won compete against each other, and the one that wins there is said to have beat every other dog in the building. That's what a best of show win is. When a champion dog goes for breed and he gets group points, he's getting all breed points. Those are different points than our championship points. And those points will go towards his grand champion or his great grand champion, and all breed points are where it stands overall standing.
Hey, thank you for breaking that down.
You're welcome. Here's some basic show information. After you enter a dog show, you're going to get a judging program, which is, can they see me pointing? They can't see me pointing. Okay, you can see on the top document the judging program. So you'll enter the dog show and you'll be sent a judging program, which is going to show you what rings you're going to be in, how many dogs were entered, what time your ring time is. And when you go to read the different pages where your dogs are, like say your entry is at 12 o'clock, Dogos are on at 12 o'clock. You go look and see Dogos on at 12 o'clock. Then you go look and see if there's any dogs in front of you, because it'll be ordered like you might be straight up at 12 o'clock, or you might be at 12 o'clock after, say, 10 Rottweilers. So when you get your judging program, that's where you're going to find all of that information. You usually receive that the week of the show. That also has your ring numbers and your judging times. And then when you get to the dog show, I recommend everybody purchase the catalog. It has all the names of the dogs that are entered and provides space for you to make notes. So, you know, maybe Amy's in there with, and I've never known Amy before, and she's got number 10 on her arm, and I really like that bitch. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know who that lady is, and I really like her dog, but I see that she's got number 10 on her arm. I can open up my catalog. I can see what number 10 is. I see who bred the dog, who owns the dog, the name of the dog, and then I can make notes. I really liked her. She moved fantastic. Please go meet this lady after the show, whatever, you know, that's what your catalog's for. It's got, and it has all the information that I'm talking about here too. It breaks down the, you know, the classes and all of this stuff. And it's got everything about who's entered in the show and who the judges were as well. Then you'll also receive your entry certificate. This is what has your numbers on it. Now, pre-COVID, we would go to the little table that's right next to your ring, and there's a steward that's sitting there. That's the person that's going to be running the ring for the judge when you get there, and they would hand you your numbers. But now post-COVID, you have to know these numbers before you show up because you'll be pulling the numbers off the table yourself. There'll be rubber bands also provided for you to attach these numbers to your arm.
So basically, they're still printing the numbers and providing them. You just
yes, ma'am. And you're still picking them up every day. They're not for the show that I attended. Now, some of them may be a little bit different, but from all the one, you know, from what I know of, this is how they're doing it. You'll still go pick it up every day. They basically have them laid out for you, and you just pull the numbers yourself just to eliminate touching. But you're still getting a number. And you're still getting a fresh number every day. And the number that you receive for that show, your dog is that number the entire weekend. And bitches are always even numbers and dogs are odd. So dogs will go in the show ring first, and they're all odd numbers, and it'll go through all the classes in order. And then after they pick winner's dog, then all the bitches will compete, and they'll pick winner's bitch, and then they'll go in for best of breed competition, and then they'll pick best of breed, and then that's when they pick the best of opposites between the winner's dog and the winner's bitch, and then that's where you see who's going to get the points. So if winner's bitch had 5 points and winner's dog only had 1 point, but the winner's dog beats the bitch in the best of opposite competition, then he will pick up the more points. He'll get the 5-point major, and the bitch will keep her 5-point major. If he doesn't beat her as best of opposite, he'll only keep his 1 point and she'll keep her 5. Any questions?
Well, I know you're going to show us some of the tools and that was one of my questions. What kind of equipment and gear do you take with you? So I'll let you
my goodness.
show me what you have here.
We take everything but the kitchen sink. So these are some of the tools you can use for training to start, like the stand stay stilts. We take bait pouches, a dog bed, and of course your show leads. We have nylon, show leads, parachute cord, and leather. I prefer either using the really strong parachute cord or nylon. I've had leather snap, and you know that would be bad news with the Dogo. So show collars, you can use nylon, which is probably some of the strongest. Link chain, snake chain, slip leads. I brought examples of, can everybody see me too as well as the PowerPoint, or just the PowerPoint?
We could see you.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the snake chain that you can use and a lot of people buy. Can you see that really well?
Yes.
Okay. These are the ones I prefer not to use because when you're correcting the dog or pulling it, it actually like grabs their little hair and it pinches the skin. Also, because it's not as pliable, see how it kind of, they snap.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like that these are the safest, but a lot of people sell these, but I don't like these as much.
I agree. I do not like them.
Yes, I prefer the chain links like this. And this is a parachute cord. Now, I probably wouldn't use this parachute cord with a Dogo. I use this with one of my smaller dogs, but they do make these with the thicker, stronger ones. And I haven't ever had a parachute cord snap on me. But my favorite are these, which is the nylon. And I tie little knots in it to help me hold on to it so it doesn't slip. Because when I get nervous, I sweat a little bit. And then some people like to use this is a nylon collar with the lead, but I like to use the chain. And I also like to use a shorter lead. Some professional handlers, other handlers, they like to use the long lead so that the dog can lead in front of them. But I just feel like with my Dogos, I like to have them closer to me. And I feel like the closer they are to me, the more control I have. They also have these kind of slip leads that are all one with a martingale. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, so, and people like to use these too because it slips back and forth. I don't like anything that can slip over their head, and I really like to use the chain because it helps me arch. But or the regular nylon ones.
Aggie, I know, sorry for interrupting. I know that when I see a lot of the new amateur handlers that are just getting into showing their Dogos, they're placing the chain on incorrectly. Can you show us?
Yes, ma'am. At the end here, I've got a dog already here, and I had his.
Okay.
What did I do with it? Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go over that and how to recognize the letter P and making sure that we're showing them on the left side and that they put it on correctly.
Very
So,
good.
and then I use stand stay tools, and you can see there that that's an 8-week-old puppy. I start putting my puppies on the table at 3 weeks when they can start standing. And I like to use bait versus toys because it keeps them more motivated. I use something like cheese because it's mild on their tummies, and I kind of squinch it up, and so that they can't get whole pieces. They kind of got to bite a little bit with their teeth. And you can see how I've got my hand like this in front of the puppy's face. And then you just get them used to standing on those stand states, you know, stilts. And sometimes I just put them on a towel on the table and kind of rake their feet across to get their feet standing there. And then it's just repetition, doing it over and over again. And then, of course, bait pouches you can buy at all the dog shows or have one yourself. Honestly, I stick most of my bait either, well, I used to stick it in my mouth, but now I can't because of the masks. But bait pouches or have pockets or stick them in your bra. I stick mine in my bra. It's easier for me just to pull it right out and have it right there, and I can stick it back in and keep going. And then I also bring a dog bed to the dog show so that when we're waiting, if you teach your dog place, especially if you end up going to groups and stuff, you bring something for your dog to lay down on, especially if there's dirt or anything like that that you don't want to get on, and everybody else's hair's floating around and stuff like that. So bring something down there to throw down. Also, attending handling classes. I've always attended handling classes. Denise has been awesome. It's just a place to go practice so that they get used to being touched because, you know, they have to go down. They have to be touched, and males have to be comfortable with their testicles being touched. They have to be comfortable with somebody going over their mouth. So it's a lot of it's just from right at the very beginning, when you're petting your dog, when you're loving them in the morning, opening up their teeth, opening up their mouth, and joining your local all breed clubs, not just Dogo clubs, going there and talking with other people that are breeding other breeds and working together on going to the shows. And then sometimes they have neat competitions, and they have sweepstake competitions for your puppies, and booth decorating competitions, just camaraderie. Places you can find all of the items to buy are on Amazon. I get my dog beds from Far More Shade. I buy all my slip leads that you guys see me bring to all the shows, and everything comes from Lone Wolf Pet Products. And also, I recently started training with these Lola Limited Secret Power Collars. I really love them for the puppies and stuff to keep them from pulling me. And then, of course, going to vendor booths at the dog shows, you can find all these different types of slip leads and cords and everything that I showed you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. There's also different types of handler types. There are professional handlers. Those are people that get paid to handle your dog. You have the owner handler, which is what I am, someone who handles their own dogs and doesn't get paid to handle other people's dogs. And then you have junior handlers, and that's a junior handler competition is opportunities for your junior handlers ages 9 to 18 to compete against each other. They get judged on their handling skills, not by their dogs. And it's they can win scholarships, and it encourages camaraderie between the kids, and it just gives them life skills, and it's fun to do.
I know you have a junior handler that's doing really, really well.
Well, she's actually handling in the regular classes. We haven't signed up for junior. Yes, we haven't signed up for junior handling. Everybody thinks that she's a junior, but she's actually competing in the regular classes for regular points like you and I.
She's doing great.
Yep, and here she is here on the next page. Just things to know about showing. Puppies can start showing for points at 6 months of age. A lot of puppies don't end up winning. Some puppies do if they're phenomenal and I've already got it down, but a lot of it is for practice. But they can actually earn points at 6 months of age. There are, like I said earlier, that you can have sweepstake classes, and some shows offer sweepstakes for 4 to 6 month old puppies also to get them in there to help socialize. But most dogs should be 6 months of age or older to attend a dog show, and dogs that come to the dog show should be only dogs that are entered in the show. Practicing for the ring, like I said, starts immediately from the time, just socializing, desensitizing, making sure that you're bonding with your puppy, that you socialize. Leash breaking is important because a lot of the control that you're going to have with the dog comes from holding the leash. Learning basic commands. So a lot of people that do obedience is going to start with sit. But even though we're going to teach the dog sit and basic obedience, a lot of ours are going to be things like stand and stay, heel, go, so that we can teach them how to gait, how to stand still for examination, you know, so it's still basic commands, it's just different words. Because of COVID, you have to remain 6 feet apart in the ring, which I think is a good thing now, so that it helps keep us a little further apart, especially for our breed. Walking around in the event should be limited to going from the ring or going shopping. Some of the dog shows are letting vendors come back in. So they just don't want people hanging out. They're not providing chairs anymore for people to actually sit and watch. They're not keeping people from coming and watching. They're just not, they just want everybody to be as safe as possible. So it's just, you know, if you have ring time or you're going to watch groups or something like that, but otherwise just don't hang out in the buildings. Always have control of your dog. That's the thing. It's defensive driving 100%. I tell my girls all the time, because they'll tell me, but she's so sweet, she's so everything. And I tell my girls, it doesn't matter how sweet your dog is, you don't know the dog that's walking around the corner. And some people really have control of their dogs, and some people let their 6-foot lead and their dog just go out. Well, we know the nature of our breed, and they may be sweet one minute and not the next. And we don't want to be at the end of that, oh my gosh, that horrific thing got my dog. So the biggest thing of preventing that from happening is just defensive driving. Be able to look and see what's in front of you and how other people are driving their dogs, and drive yours with control and close to your leg. Most dog shows are professionally dressed, like dress suits, jackets. I would say wear things that are going to be easy for you to show in. Always check your dresses, ladies, and bend over to make sure we're not seeing your underwear. With men, most of them wear jackets. It's easier for them. They can pull their bait out of their pockets. Some shows have casual theme and attire. I know that some of the Oklahoma City clusters sometimes have beach theme. During Christmas time, some of the shows will throw where they can set up their booths and have those kind of themes. But when you get to some of the bigger shows like Westminster, it's a little bit more formal. Or the national championship dog shows, it's a little bit more formal attire. Go ahead.
What type of, there's a question in here, Aggie.
Yes, ma'am.
What type of grooming do you provide with your Dogo before each show? I don't know if you have that further in your slide, or.
Yes, ma'am. I actually have gear out, and I was gonna see if Mickey would let me clip his face and show you my brushes. And I already dremeled his nails, but we can do an example of that as well. I've got my whole bag here.
Okay. Well, we can.
I promise y'all, I'm almost done with these slides. We only have a couple more to go, I think. So I think one of the other questions you guys asked me was how I select a puppy. So I wish I could have came up with this myself, but I didn't. I learned most of how I select a puppy from the puppy puzzle, Pat Hastings. Also want to give credit to Bonnie Blink. When I first started out, I started out showing Mastiffs, and she breeds Mastiffs. She actually came to my house. She introduced me to the Pat Hastings, the puppy puzzle, and she came and set up dogs for me and help me evaluate dogs. And so if you guys are interested in getting that, this is where I come up with not choosing my puppies until 7.5 and 8.5 weeks of age. She's done years and years of breeding and study and practice, and she says that between 7.5 between 7.5 and 8.5 weeks of age, that whatever they look like at that time is what they will come back to mature to at 2 years of age, provided that they got proper exercise, nutrition, all of those things. So that's how I've been doing it ever since, and I just try to improve each time. I like consistency, I like an overall balance, temperament, structure, drive, the whole package. It's the whole thing is very important to me.
So you don't select a dog for one particular, you're looking at the whole package of the
Yes,
Dogo.
ma'am. Right. If I have one that's just spectacular out of the whole litter, but I have one that just is equally balanced everywhere, I will, like, say one's got the most phenomenal head I've ever seen and it's just buffed out like you've never seen before, but I have one that's completely balanced and offers just the whole package, I would pick the balanced puppy over the overdone puppy, because I'm looking to breed consistency.
Okay.
So the standard is very important. Before you breed dogs, you need to read your standard. Each dog that's competing is being judged by a written standard provided by the DACA. Everything that AKC is learning about the breed is coming from our breed club. So that's why it's so important for everybody to take part in what the breed club's doing and work together. Judges take classes provided by AKC and the DAC to learn what our breed standards are. The purpose of showing is to find breed stock to breed dogs closest to the standard, because structure and function go hand in hand. So the closer the dog is to the written standard, the better it is going to perform. So I'm not going to click on the crash course. You guys can go ahead and look at that later if you want to. It's just my idea. I took out I just minimized what the standard is, and there's also a copy of our AKC standard in there too, and I just urge all of you to read it and go over it and learn our standard before breeding dogs. AKC sportsmanship is hugely important. This is just a small portion of the list that's provided by AKC in the Code of Sportsmanship. Always respect the history, traditions, and the integrity of the sport of purebred dogs. Sportsmen commit themselves to values of fair play, honesty, courtesy, vigorous competition, as well as winning and losing with grace. Not all of us are going to win every time, and not all of us are going to lose every time. And every judge that's judging the dog that's learning our breed is their interpretation of what it is that they're reading. And so we have to respect that and learn from it. So sportsmen respect AKC bylaws, rules, and regulations. They welcome and encourage all new members. Sportsmen will deal fairly with those who trade with them. They're willing to share honest and open appraisals of both strengths and weaknesses of their breeding stock. You have to be your own worst enemy. You have to be able to, or be your own worst critic, not your own worst enemy, but your own worst critic, be able to look at it. That's the point of getting a bunch of dogs together. Sometimes I look at my dogs in my yard and I go, gosh, they look so fantastic, or I took this fantastic picture. And then I'll get them in the ring and lined up with a bunch of other dogs and go, wow, his chest isn't as deep as mine. I just saw Cassie's dog in there and my dog doesn't have as much deep of a chest as that. But how would I see that, not knowing that, you know, with my dog not standing next to her dog? Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, you have to be able to go in there and have perspective of what it is that you're doing. Because if you're only breeding down one way and you're on a one-way tunnel and you get tunnel vision, you're not going to be able to produce quality dogs. So sportsmen should always consider a paramount of the welfare of their dog. Refuse to embarrass the sport, refuse to embarrass the American Kennel Club or themselves while taking part in the sport. The rest of the sportsmanship you guys can find on the Code of Sportsmanship. How to choose good breeding stock. When I choose a dog, I usually keep females when I breed dogs. You can take a mediocre bitch and breed up to a great dog and produce champions. If I buy a dog and I buy a bitch and my dog grows up just to be a mediocre dog, he's okay, he meets most of the standard, but he's just an okay dog, then I have to decide, do I take this dog just because I have him and breed him to a bitch that I have in my yard? Or do I take my bitch and breed her to something phenomenal to produce better dogs? So in my opinion, you can take a mediocre bitch and always breed her up to produce champion dogs, but you can't take a mediocre dog and breed up, because no good bitch is going to want to breed to the mediocre dog. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
So whether it's a male or a female, before breeding, it must pass appropriate health testing to include, but not limited to, bear, hips, and heart. That's what we do right now. They have to have a good temperament. They have to be well balanced. You have to be able to function in the capacity of which the breed was created to do, which is hunt. I've never really, my husband's hunted deer and been a hunter and stuff, but I've never really been into that. Dogs have always been my thing. But when I got into the Dogos 11 years ago, and then after importing the 2 from Russia, you know, they were just so much more dog than any other breed that I've ever dealt with. And I wanted to be successful at having them. And I had some people tell me, you know, to take some of my more serious dogs and put them in hunting homes. But I didn't understand why I couldn't become a hunting home myself, so that I could better understand what it was that I had at my house. So back in 2013, we went to a DACA event in San Antonio. And through the help of Daniel DeHulst, the president of the Hunting Club, and Amy Collins and everybody else that was there, they helped us get our first hunting temperament test. And ever since then, we've been addicted and been hunting the dogs ever since. And so to me, the all-around balance is being able to walk, like I said, from the field to the ring and back home again. So breeding is a practice. You have to learn your breed standard. Pedigrees are important. Learning your pedigrees is letting you know what's going to come out in the future and what you're trying to breed away from. That's why talking to each other and sharing knowledge and health testing, I think that we should add the surf and the thyroid. Our dogs have cataract issues, so I'm going to start surfing all of the dogs. We have Some people say that they've had thyroid issues. Some people say they haven't, but we're not going to know where we're at if people don't health test their dogs and see. You know, some people say they don't have a hip problem because they go out there and catch hogs and, you know, tear it up and they don't let go. But that's the heart of the dog. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a bad hip. It just means his heart's unwilling to let go of it. You're not going to know that unless you actually put x-rays to it. You know, not all dysplastic dogs show symptoms. So be your own worst critic. Try not to have kennel blindness. Listen to constructive criticism. Be able to give it and take it with, you know, you can read between the lines of somebody being nasty and somebody that's really trying to help you further your program. Purposefully bred dogs should always be bred with the betterment of the breed in mind. If you're not wanting to improve the breed, you shouldn't be breeding dogs. References. All the information in this presentation come from personal experiences of myself or my husband. I found all of the other information on Google, Amazon, AKC, and History Expert. That's 4 generations of our dogs right there. Thanks.
Nice.
And yep, that's it. Are you guys ready to,
Yeah,
do you have any questions before?
I do. I had a question that I had meant to ask you when you were talking about the armband numbers, and I skipped over it for some reason.
Okay.
Is there a way to fix any of the issues that might arise from the wrong, especially now that you're picking your own number up off the table for the wrong armband number being used?
Well,
or if you
you
forget to
won't.
change it out if you're showing multiple dogs, how do you fix that issue?
You might pick up the wrong number, but you won't go in the ring with the wrong number because the steward is the one that is controlling the ring, and they call your numbers in one at a time and check your number as you come in the ring. Okay. What could occur though is that you have the wrong dog. So the ring number is going to be fine because if you have the wrong ring number on your arm, she's going to change your number to the correct number. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, but if you have the wrong dog in the ring and you compete and you win, that's why they have a reserve winner. So now you've gone in the ring, you have the right number, I have the right number, but you grabbed the wrong dog. And then at the end, you're like, oh no, I grabbed the wrong dog, but I just took breed. Now your reserved winner is the one who takes the points, just for examples like that. So if something arises like wrong registration, you have the wrong dog, you competed out of the rules or regulations, like you entered the wrong class, like say you put a foreign bred dog in the ambred class. Well, that was the wrong entry, so you won under the wrong class, you're gonna lose the points. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So then the reserve winner dog, when you get reserve winner, that's a big deal. So even though you didn't take the points, you keep that. So if anything ever ends up happening, like the wrong dog was entered or whatever, then you would end up taking those points. And that's what reserve winners is for.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few breeding questions, Aggie. I know you discussed this in your PowerPoint. How do you choose your stud dog or your brood bitch? What are the qualities and the traits they must possess? I know you are big on health testing, and you said that you hunt and structure overall the standard. What do you determine, and when do you determine a dog is breed worthy?
Well, I don't breed dogs or dogos because I would breed a mastiff at 18 months just because of the ginormity of the breed. But dogos I don't breed before they're 2 years old. So it's after they're 2 years old that it gets determined. First, they've got to pass all their health testing and have a great temperament up until that point, and then they get tested in the field. If they don't pass all the aspects of everything on there, they don't get bred. One of the things that I'm big on is bite. Bite is hard to fix. So if the bite is off, they get spayed or neutered. If their temperament is off, they get spayed, neutered, or put down, depending on how bad the temperament is. But things like spots on the body, like even though that dog may not be a show dog because it's a disqualification, if it had everything else, if it caught, if the function was there, if the front and the rear assembly was there, beautiful top line, full dentition, beautiful pigment, but it just had a spot on its body, I would breed that dog because he has something to offer. To me, color has nothing to do with form or function. It's just aesthetic.
Okay. If you have a dog that is mediocre but produces excellent specimens, would you keep using it for breeding, or would you just do it the one time,
Absolutely.
one and done?
Nope. Mediocre bitches produce top champions all the time. As long as she's passed her health testing and has something to offer the breed, absolutely. You
So
just keep
here's,
breeding up to better stud dogs.
right. If the dog is an excellent dog but continues to produce subpar offsprings, would you continue that in your program? Would you just,
Well, if you have an excellent dog and you have consistency behind you, that shouldn't happen. But if it does happen, then that means that you probably took a superstar dog that didn't have a consistent litter and is not a top producer. But I believe in line breeding. I weave in and out. So, you know, weave once in my program, and then I weave out with a outcross and then weave back in, because I'm looking for consistency. I don't want a litter of puppies where I see one superstar and I look down and go, oh my gosh, he's going to be the best special. I would rather look down at 10 puppies and I have a hard time picking which one because they all look so similar.
right. When do you determine it's time to do an outcross?
Usually between each breeding or 2 breedings.
2 breedings.
Because I tightly line breed. So if I line breed something like, say, a niece to an uncle in this breeding, and then I might outcross on the next breeding, and then I take something from that and breed it back into something that's in my pedigree.
Okay.
That's
What
what the
trait,
weaving in and out.
yeah. What traits do you think can be fixed with one breeding?
The head.
The head?
The head can, but not the bite. Like if you don't have as much stop, or you don't have as broad of a muzzle, or your back head isn't as wide or as broad, you can fix that in one breeding. But you can't fix a front and rear assembly in one breeding, or the bite. The bite will, you know, it'll come up to sneak up on you. If you have like rye bites or parrot mouths or undershot mouths, which I've seen all 3 in the dogo, or missing teeth. Missing teeth, to me, if they're missing 1 premolar or 2 premolars, isn't as big of a deal for me as the parrot mouth or the rye bite or the undershot mouth, which the undershot to me isn't as bad as the parrot mouth or the rye bite. So I prefer a scissor bite or a level bite.
So in your opinion, how long does it take, how many breedings does it take to correct the bite? Have you experienced that?
I don't know, because if the bite goes off, I usually spay and neuter it and doesn't get bred. So I'm breeding good bites to good bites.
Right. Here's another question. I think you probably have already answered this too, but we'll go over it again. How do you select offspring that you keep from your litter? I know you wait
So there's
for about
7.5 to 8.5 weeks. Yes, because she always says, and then we do an evaluation. The best way to evaluate your puppies is actually to have a stranger come in and evaluate them, because then you can get the true temperament test, because they've been acclimated to you and everybody else. So the temperament is going to be hard to see with somebody that they're already familiar with. You get to, and it's surprising how puppies will act differently in the ones that you think have the best temperament. So the best way to do it is to bring a stranger in to, you know, handle the puppies, put them on the table, you know, play with the ears, grab the tails, roll them over. There's just, it's a whole temperament, structure. It's just an entire package, the entire package of the puppies. And, you know, desensitizing them. When we have a litter of puppies, we introduce them to the stairs, to the water, to toys, to bells, to different dogs, animals. We got baby donkeys now, so they'll get to see donkeys. You know, you just want well-rounded puppies, and just keep socializing them and keep, you know, giving them new experiences and everything, and then have somebody come in and just, you know, put them on the table and evaluate them. If you get that Pat Hastings, the puppy puzzle, she has an entire system. You can download forms. It's got everything on there. It even gives you a checklist, and how she likes to break it down, like each puppy gets points. Like this one might rate a 3 in this category, or 4 in this category, a 5 in this category. And at the end, you add it all up, and the puppy that ends up scoring the most is your pig puppy. She literally breaks it down into science. And
that is excellent. She put a lot
and
of
I
work
love
into
it.
that.
Yes, she did. And it's a great resource. I mean, that's how I like I said, I wish I could have just said that I made up this great way of picking puppies and stuff, but I didn't. I mean, I've been using the Pat Hastings puppy puzzle for the last 11 years in picking all my puppies from all the different breeds that I have.
So how long after your offspring, I mean, how old are they before you determine that you might want to repeat that breeding from the puppies that you keep or the ones that you send to homes? Do you wait till they're 2 years old, or if you see something like that you like at 6 months old, are you going to repeat that breeding again? Or
Oh, you
have
mean
you?
if I was to use the same stud dog?
Right.
I don't always use the same stud dog. Some people believe that you should breed your bitch to a different dog every time. But if I have something like, for instance, my English Mastiffs, the #1 English Mastiffs for 2 years in a row in Mexico came from my kennel. Well, it produced such a beautiful dog that I repeated the breeding and ended up producing champions out of that breeding as well. So it just, that made me want to repeat the breeding. But usually you end up breeding your bitch to different stud dogs each time so that you can line breed back into yourself and you get the best of whatever you get at that one time. So it just depends. If the litter was so phenomenal, I did it with Dogos too. I mean, the previous litter to Bugsy was so phenomenal that I repeated it because, with Sam and Lily, the temperaments were so awesome. I just wanted to do it. You know what I mean? So, and temperament's so
Right.
important in our breed that should really take precedence in what we breed to. But usually I don't. Usually I take the bitch and breed her to a different stud dog. And then take the best from that. And then breed those all. And that's how you intertwine in and out.
Your outcrosses
Mm-hmm. And your line breeding.
and your line breeding. Let's talk about maternal instincts.
Okay.
Some bitches can be good mothers and some cannot. Some are young and nervous, first-time mothers. Tell me, how do you handle that? And have you ever had that issue?
No, ma'am. I have
Yeah.
never had a bitch that didn't want to take care of her puppies, except for in English Mastiffs, but not in an aggressive way. It's because they're lazy and they don't want to lick them and they want you to take care of them. But as far as Dogos and aggressiveness, I've heard of some Dogo bitches that don't want to take care of the puppies or are very snappy and don't want them to feed on them or whatever. I have never personally experienced that. And if I did experience that, that bitch would never get bred again. She'd get spayed. So that's most Dogo should be very maternal. I mean, my first Dogo litter, she was so maternal that she regurgitated food for her puppies. They're supposed to be excellent mothers, and I haven't run into that. So if people are running into that issue and they're running into it often, then they need to stop that line. And then be very selective out of anything that they keep out of those litters to, if they plan on breeding, I put most of them in pet homes and only keep the puppy that was going to be bred so that I could see if it was going to turn out to be the same as its mother.
Yeah, it is
Or have
true.
everything spayed and neutered.
Yeah, I mean, temperament is huge, like you said, in this breed, and we don't want to
Absolutely.
pass anything down.
And as breeders, we have a responsibility to put the best quality temperamented dogs on the ground as possible.
Absolutely.
I think some people are mistaken in temperament, thinking that they have to be a little harder in order to be catch dogs, but I found that not to be true. I have fantastic family dogs that can, when they put their vests on and go into the field, they act just as serious as they're supposed to act, but then just settle right back down into family life when they come. And that's exactly what I love about them. And that's what they're supposed to be.
Right. There should just be one true Dogo, and that's how it should be.
And all my bitches are right there letting me touch them. I keep the environment quiet. I keep it warm. I keep it semi-dark when they're ready to have their puppies. I have all of the stuff ready that I need for like suction or cutting umbilical cords and having wash rags. And I don't have a lot of stress or walking around going on. And all my bitches, they look at me for help. So I haven't had that kind of issue. And if people are having that issue, then they need to be thinking about their breeding practices and what they're breeding.
Very good. So I know we were talking about changing the subject here about grooming when it comes to shows.
Yes, ma'am.
You do to get your dogs ready for the ring.
Are you ready to see some
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and turn this around. Mickey is today. Here. All right. Can you guys see me okay?
Yes.
Am I too far away? Should I come closer? Because I can't see.
I think you're fine.
Okay.
If anyone else
Stretch.
disagrees, just let me know in the chat.
All right, first the lead. We're gonna show our dogs on our left side. And you want your chain. Should I turn this way or is that way okay?
That way, maybe when you're showing the chain and how to properly come a little closer, because you're, yeah,
Okay. Is that
just
better?
with the chain, yeah.
Okay, so you want your chain to be able to slide like this. And the only way it'll slide like that is if the ball is on the top. So I tell everybody to have a letter P. So that's my letter P. If you put it upside down, it's not going to come back, it'll stay stuck. So you do a letter P and make sure it slides just like this, okay? Then you'll place it standing in front of your dog over their head. And it'll automatically be ready for you to go. Did I do it too fast? Could you guys see okay? Sit. Can you see them okay?
I could see. Yeah, I could see it just fine. If anyone else is
Okay.
having difficulties or would like Aggie to redo anything, just let us know.
Are we good to go?
We're good.
Okay, so when we are controlling our dog, a lot of people have their leads at the bottom. But at the bottom of the neck, like if they had a harness, is where they're the strongest. So the placement of the lead should go always underneath the jaw, right behind the ears, so that you can control the entire head. And it makes him go everywhere with me. If I had it down here, it's harder to make him go. Come here, turn around. So to control the dog should always be placed up underneath the jawline and right behind the ears. Can you see him completely?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna bring him a little closer, sit. All right, great. Here, in my bag. If I set my bag on my floor, will you guys be able to see?
If it's set
This
back
is
maybe a
my-
little bit. Okay.
You want me to step back a little bit? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we can
This
see.
is my grooming bag. So I bring everything in here from deodorant to scissors, dog clippers, my powder, just anything that I could possibly need at the dog show. A hairspray for their feet. These are the little clippers that I use to clip the whiskers. So not everybody has to clean up their whiskers and their ears. It just makes it a cleaner surface for the judges to go over, you know, when they're examining their heads and stuff. Come here, Mick. Sit. All right. So then you just take your clippers and hold the head and then just flip all their little clippers off until the face is smooth. Did you catch that?
Did.
Is it close enough? And then on the ears, I just clean up this long hair that's on the inside of the ears. Can you see how long it is? Do I need to bring him closer?
It's hard to see, but I mean, I don't know if you want to bring him closer. You can.
Sit, buddy. Good boy. All right. See all that hair right here
Mhm.
and right here on the edge? So you just take your clippers and just go right along the edge and right in here and see how much hair it takes off. And then, watch, it just makes it a cleaner expression, clean up all of these whiskers here. And I just get one, and it's very quiet. It's like it's called a Brav Mini from Wall.
Is that made for dogs, or is that just
Yes,
one that
ma'am.
you would buy
Uh-huh.
over the counter? Okay.
No, it's a wall dog clipper, the Brav Mini. It's kind of quiet and it has a
Okay.
small clipper in it. Really, it's just easy to clean them up. Also, where's my journal? I use this stuff. It's called Face Glow. Can y'all see it?
What do you use that for?
His nose.
Okay.
It smells like grape. And so if there's bitches in season and stuff, it just gives like a little bit of a smell and it shines up their nose. And so you just rub it on the nose and it slicks it up and makes it just a little bit shiny. Look, it's so damn your pretty nose. See? Then I put this on last, right before we go, because he lifts a bunch of it off. Then there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can use called chalk. This is like the dark spots on the feet. Some people like to chalk their dogs all over and around their face. I don't. I just like to chalk the parts that are like stained a little bit or red, you know, just to get that little redness off of them so their coat looks a little bit better. And you use this chalk with a little brush like this. You just tap the powder, put it in your lid. And then whatever area that you want to put it on, like, let's see, he's kind of pink. Do you see where he's pink? Right here?
Mm-hmm. On top of his nose, right?
Mm-hmm. So you just kind of rub it in there. Kind of like you're putting a, ladies, if you're putting a powdered foundation.
And Aggie, is this something that is going to rub off when the judge is examining or going over the dog?
No, they have sprays that you can put on to set it. What I do is after I rub it in, it's kind of like the Bare Minerals makeup or whatever. You keep rubbing it, kind of mats itself down in there. And then I just run my hand over to make sure that it's not going to be on them. So, and they have different types. They have cover up by David. Favorite. I don't really, because they're not supposed to discount us for any marks. I don't do a whole bunch. And I always use these kind of short bristle brushes to clean them off.
Mm-hmm.
And to get the dust and stuff off of them. Also, I use the Dremel, the one that you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's. And this is the light one with the light on the top. And I always Dremel the dog's nails. Can you see his feet? Am I too far away or can you see?
We can see his feet.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So usually have somebody help hold your dog. And then I just Dremel their nails.
At what age do you start doing that so they get acclimated?
I start clipping their nails even before they've stopped weaning because they end up tearing up all of my girls' tummies. So, and then I start with the Dremel like at 6 weeks, and they've been doing Dremel ever since, which is part of the reason why he stands there and just lets me do it because we've been doing it forever. You want to see me stack a dog? That's pretty much all I do to get them ready. I also wipe down their bodies. You know, you can take alcohol or you can take a top coat wipe. Oh, here's a perfect example of something to cover up. Come here. So, you know, I'm sure some of you other Dogo people get these things on their feet, you know, that would be something to cover up with the powder. Baiting. I think earlier they asked, I prefer bait over the toys, but you can use the toys too. But I always start the puppies on the bait. They don't really know what toys are when they're so young. So when I start them with the cheese, it's easier. When I start with puppies, he already knows what we're going to do. So when I start with puppies, to get them to watch, I teach them how to catch. So it's going to be a lot of practice to see how much attention he has right now with me in my hand and everywhere I go. Because when he was little, I used to just watch, catch. And it gives that expression, the catching. Okay? Then we work from being in a sit position to stand. They watch. And then he gets treats this way. And I just take it in stages, and it depends on what it is that we're doing. And he's been doing this since he was a puppy. So the hardest thing about using bait, though, sometimes is if they become so into the baiting that they don't listen to you in the ring. So it's a balance of teaching them when to be crazy about the bait or when not to. Like a thing that I just did too, when they're giving you a hard time in the ring and everybody's trying to stack their dog and they can't get it under control or they're not, instead of fighting with them, just walk them in a circle to get back, line back up. You don't have to stay in the same position every time. The main thing is just being in tune with your dog. Stand, stay. Stacking a dog is just bringing their legs straight up and straight down so that the judge is going to be able to check out the structure of the dog. I always start with the front, the judge's side first. I like touching my dogs so that they know where I'm about to go with my hand instead of just going right for the rear. The rear leg should always be perpendicular to the ground, and your other rear leg should match that. So when the judge is walking behind, one leg is right behind the other. And then you bait your dog. You guys have any other questions?
Sorry, muted. Does anyone have any questions for Aggie on how to stack or groom a dog while she has Mickey out?
Always be sure to praise your dogs. Have fun showing your dogs.
Okay, I don't think anyone has any questions right now for that, Aggie.
Awesome.
Wait. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, one of the questions is the best way to walk the dog next to you and what side should you stand on?
The dog should always be on your left side. And stand where? As far as like when you're in the...
I think that's just maybe what the question was, basically how to walk the dog. Maybe he's asking about the pace. I don't know.
It depends on when you're going around. So when you first enter the ring and they send you around, you're going to be at a faster gait, showing your side gait of your dog. When you do the down and back, that's going to be a slower pace.
He's saying standing basically in the arena. So
it'll go in the order of your number.
Class.
Yes, so if we have the 6 to 9 puppy class dogs, it might be like number 9, number 11, number 21. It'll go in the order of the numbers. So number 9 will come in first, then number 11, and then number 21. And then the judge will give you instructions from them. Like he'll either look at all of you stacked up together, or he'll go ahead and send you around the ring to look at the side gate, and then have the first dog stack up by the beginning of the numbers. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll stop there, you'll stack up the dog, and then that's where the judge will go over the dog.
Okay. Rodolfo, does that answer your question? Yes, it did. Thank you. Aggie, can you show us how the judge is going to go over their dog?
Absolutely.
When they examine it?
Every judge is different. Will you come hold my dog?
How should you be holding the head and showing the bite when the judge examines the dog?
Every judge is different. Some judges like to see the bite first. So the best way to know what your judge is going to do is to be there to watch them judge the previous breeds so that you can see. And then just pet him. So AJ's got the dog stacked up. The judge is standing over here looking at the side. Then he's going to approach the dog. In most of my experiences, they look at the bite first and then go over everything on the dog. So
your volume's cutting out a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, so first, they're going to go over the bite. Some of them ask for the person to show me the bite. Show me the bite. They're going to look at all sides, the front, and this side, and to make sure they have the little tooth there. Then they'll measure the head. Then they're going to come around here. They're going to go down and measure the front of the dog, check the shoulder, the top line, pull the tail, measure the tail, check for 2 testicles, and then ask them to do the down and back, front and his rear. Then he'll come back, re-stack his dog, then I'll send him back around the ring again, and the next person will go.
You kind of cut out, but I believe you were explaining how they go up and down for the movement of the dog to show movement. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes. The judge will examine the dog first, go over everything. Then they'll send them on the diagonal, the down and back, to watch the front and the rear assembly. Then he'll send the dog around the ring again to watch the side gate. And then while that dog is going around, the dog behind him should already be setting up his dog.
And everyone watching, I don't know if you noticed how Aggie's husband AJ was holding the head for the dog and how important that is for you to like hold the dog's head while the judge is going over, so the dog's not
whipping around because they're worried about getting bit or snapped or whatever. So they like you to always control the head so that they can go over the rear of the dog. And I usually either do this by holding the muzzle or having bait, depending on which dog I'm working with.
And some judges don't like the bait, right?
Huh?
Some judges, like I said, some judges might not like you having the dog.
Some judges don't like bait.
Yes,
some judges don't like the bait. So it depends. You got
AJ, can you show us one more time how you were holding the head for that examination? Because the Dogo is a very powerful breed, so you want to always make sure you have control of that head.
Just coming down this way.
Yep.
Just get in front here.
Yep.
Don't go to the lead.
Yep.
Just stand in front, pet the dog, all the judges.
And then I can go here and here and here. Here, here. Some judges will come over your dogs like this and they'll actually push down, slip in. So you just
we have
your dogs.
We have one of our attendees is actually a AKC judge, and this is a statement from her. As a judge of all working breeds, I would like to state that all judges of the Dogo Argentino approach them from the front or at the shoulders, never from the rear. I would not take my right hand off of them during the exam and should be able to feel within 10 seconds. Most guardian breeds have the bite examined last. And that's from Denise Borton. She's an AKC judge. Thank you, Denise.
And I've had where some of them have done the bite last, and I've had where some of them do it first. So you just have to be prepared, because a lot of them, especially in the beginning of our breed, they're not going to have the experience that all of these have. And unless they take the time to go to the courses and take the classes and do the research, they're not going to know. So they'll run the ring however they've always ran it. But I just feel like if you have your dog out there and he's experienced all of these things from the beginning of time, you're going to know what breeding stock that you should be bringing to the show. And you know what's going to be able to handle it. Just don't make excuses for your dog.
Yes.
Bring good dogs to the dog shows you bring.
Right.
Yep. So you have to have good sound dogs in order to do it. And that's the part of the reason of showing, is so that we can all be together to see breeding stock and to be able to critique each other and be able to breed better dogs together. And the easiest way to see good breeding stock is to go to a dog show and be able to, have each dog compared to our standard. And then when you lose, you should be asking yourself why. Is it because the judge wasn't knowledgeable? Is it because I didn't get to see the bite of that dog and maybe it had something better in its mouth than my dog did? What was it and don't be afraid to ask a judge or pick its brain. What could I do better? What was it that you didn't see? Some judges like movement. Some judges like substance. So it's their interpretation. So I have had some judges, working dog judges, that love the movement of the dog and will put the dog up over movement any day. And then I've had some judges that like bone and substance and only think that dogs have big bone and are bulky or can hold down a pig, because that's what's in their mind. That's their interpretation of what they're, what they're reading. So that's what they end up putting up. So.
Exactly. And also from Denise, she said examining the bite last allows for a bit more time for the settling of the dog. So that's good information.
Which I agree. And I appreciate that from judges that do that in Mastiffs. The problem is that most judges don't give you that courtesy, and you're at their disposal when you're in their ring. So what the steward and the judge is doing is, by their request. It's like some of them do it down and back. Some of them do a triangle. The best way to learn how to do it is just go to the handling classes and get with other people that are showing, and then just start doing it and practicing.
And
Yep.
one way, how would you find a handling class in your area? What would you recommend to
Just
a
look
new
it up
person?
online. You can look it up online, and also your all breed clubs, like the Fort Worth
Mhm.
Kennel Club or the Dallas Kennel Club or the Ohio Kennel Club. Look up your all breed clubs, your state clubs, your county clubs, and they usually have all the information because they're your local people.
What is your view on bitches versus the male, the harder look? Do you think they should look different, a slight difference, or equally? I mean,
Well, you know, my first show bitch was a dog ear bitch, and I kind of like that hard look. But you know, when I went to the dog show, when you read the standard, the bitch is supposed to be a bit more feminine looking and not have a harder look and be a little bit more harmonious, I think, and look feminine. And so that's information that I learned from Horacio from the first show when he went over. But that's the whole point. That's why you go to dog shows, so that you can listen to people that have been doing it like that, so that I could learn. Because I mean, I bred mastiffs, so I like that big doggy, big bone
masculine,
bitch.
right?
Right. But he explained to me that there should be an elegance to her. She shouldn't be so hard. And you know, and I saw that over time. I didn't have to give up the breadth of my muzzle or the back skull and stuff. He just wanted a more feminine, softer look. So and when I read the standard, that's how I interpret it, that the bitch should be more elegant compared to the male.
Okay, let's see what else. Juan says, thank you for that. That was his question. Does anyone else have any questions for Aggie?
Welcome.
Just giving everyone a couple of minutes to type if they do. Do you have anything to add?
If anybody sees me at a show and you have any questions or need any support, don't be afraid to come up and talk to us or ask us or send us a message. And I think that everything that's on here, that you guys should be able to send the PDF for the standard and this PowerPoint to everybody that attended. And I thank you all.
Great. That's excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today and providing us with all of
for
this
having me.
great information. So
Thank you, guys.
hopefully someone learned it. And then Denise Borton said, thank you.
Yes, I hope to see
Terrific.
you guys in the ring.
Yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Y'all have
Everyone
a blessed
enjoy the
day.
rest of your day. Thank you, Aggie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.